Patrick Mahomes Sr. is sitting inside a Texas jail cell right now with no way out. Prosecutors had proposed 10 years, but this time, the father of the NFL's biggest star might be looking at a more serious sentencing. His ankle monitor told the whole story, and what it revealed was way shocking. Arrested again, prosecutors given 10 years. On Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026, Patrick Lavon Mahomes Sr., the 55-year-old former Major League Baseball pitcher and father of Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes II, walked into a scheduled meeting with his probation officer in Tyler, Texas, and never walked out a free man. Authorities had already obtained a warrant, and when Mahomes Sr. showed up thinking this was just another routine check-in, he was placed under arrest without incident and booked into Smith County Jail. And here is the part that makes this whole situation feel like some kind of cruel cosmic joke. That arrest happened on exactly the same date, February 3rd, precisely 2 years to the day after his previous DWI arrest back in 2024. You truly cannot make this kind of timing up if you tried. Fast forward to this year, February, the reason Mahomes Sr. is being held behind bars right now, and the reason he is not going anywhere anytime soon, all comes back to one device strapped around his ankle, a Scram alcohol monitoring bracelet. That device was required as part of the strict probation terms he received back in September of 2024 after pleading guilty to a third-degree felony charge of driving while intoxicated, third offense or more. The terms of that probation were crystal clear and left absolutely zero room for interpretation. No alcohol consumption whatsoever. Not a sip, not a taste, nothing. And yet, on January 1st, 2026, New Year's Day of all days, that ankle monitor registered a high alcohol reading, reportedly showing a transdermal alcohol concentration level of 0.045%. The alert was flagged to his probation officer on January 5th, and Mahomes Sr. subsequently submitted urine tests on both January 5th and January 9th, both of which reportedly came back negative for alcohol. But the damage from that monitor reading was already done. On top of the alcohol detection, prosecutors have also alleged that Mahomes Sr. failed to complete his required community service hours, specifically 3 hours per month for multiple months, which was another mandatory condition of his probation. So this was not just about one bad night on New Year's Eve. This was a pattern of non-compliance that prosecutors are now using to build their case for the harshest possible outcome. And that outcome is severe. Smith County District Attorney Jacob Putman and his team of prosecutors are not playing around. They are aggressively seeking to revoke Mahomes Sr.'s probation entirely and are pushing for the maximum sentence of 10 years in state prison for the original 2024 felony DWI conviction. If they succeed, the man who once pitched in the big leagues and raised one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history could spend the next decade of his life behind bars. A judge has ordered him to remain in custody without bond until a hearing scheduled for March 9, 2026 before Judge Kerry Russell in the 7th District Court, where he will finally have the opportunity to contest these allegations. Until that day comes, he is not going anywhere. This is a man who has vouched to stay out of trouble and couldn't control his excitement following his attendance to the Super Bowl.
Now, y'all don't want me to do all that again.
No, but how excited are you?
I got a special blend. I'm very excited, man. I mean, going back to another Super Bowl, you know, it's more than anybody could even imagine.
Following news of his recent arrest and being back in jail, the public reaction has been a mixture of disappointment, frustration, and genuine concern for the Mahomes family. Social media erupted with commentary from every angle imaginable. Many expressed deep sympathy for Patrick Mahomes II, acknowledging the incredible personal toll this situation must take on a man who is trying to lead his team during one of the biggest stretches of the NFL calendar. Others were far less sympathetic toward the father, pointing to the undeniable pattern of repeated alcohol-related incidents and arguing that this time, real prison time is the only appropriate consequence. Comments like, "Again, give him some hard time before he kills someone," flooded discussion threads. Meanwhile, some questioned why this was even making national news, with remarks like, "This is sad, but why make this news? Let them deal with this in private," reflecting a divide between those who see this as public accountability and those who view it as an invasion of family privacy during a painful chapter. As for Patrick Mahomes II himself, the three-time Super Bowl champion has maintained his characteristic silence on the matter. As of early February 2026, Mahomes has not made any public statements specifically addressing his father's latest arrest or the probation violation.
I think just knowing that it hurt me woke him up to know that, like, you can't keep doing the same things.
I called him, right after, and I told him, I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that
it's taken away from your time and focus.
He has historically been incredibly private about his father's legal troubles, and this time is no different. The last time he spoke publicly about the situation was back in August of 2025, during an episode of ESPN's Chiefs Kingdom docuseries, where he opened up about the 2024 DWI arrest. He admitted that answering questions about it during Super Bowl preparation was one of the most difficult things he has had to do, and said that knowing that it hurt me woke him up, referring to his father recognizing the pain his actions caused. Those words feel especially heavy now, knowing what has transpired since. But this 2026 arrest did not come out of thin air. It is the latest chapter in a long and troubling history of alcohol-related offenses that stretches back years. Mahomes Sr.'s first documented DWI came in 2018 when he was arrested in Texas for what was classified as his second offense. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced in 2019 to 40 days in jail, which he served on weekends over the course of roughly a year from February 2019 through February 2020 to accommodate his personal schedule. That should have been the wake-up call. It was not. Then came February 3rd, 2024, just 8 days before Super Bowl 58, where his son would go on to lead the Chiefs to victory over the San Francisco 49ers. On that night, Mahomes Sr. was pulled over during a routine traffic stop in Tyler, Texas, around 8:30 in the evening. Officers discovered an open beer can sitting in plain view in the center console. His vehicle registration had been expired since September of 2022, and a blood test revealed his blood alcohol content was 0.23, nearly 3 times the legal limit of 0.08 in the state of Texas. He was charged with DWI third offense or more, a third-degree felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison. He was booked into Smith County Jail, posted a $10,000 bond, and was released the same day. The timing of that arrest absolutely dominated headlines and created a media firestorm that overshadowed the typical Super Bowl buildup. Body cam footage obtained by TMZ months later in October 2024 showed Mahomes Sr. repeatedly mentioning his son's name while handcuffed, pleading with the arresting officers and expressing deep concern about how the situation would impact his son and the team. He told officers he had had some drinks and called the entire situation embarrassing. He was formally indicted by a grand jury in April of 2024, and by August 27th, on the very day his jury trial was set to begin, he pleaded guilty to the felony DWI charge. In September, he was sentenced to 5 years of probation with intensive supervision for the first year, 10 days in jail, mandatory community service, Alcoholics Anonymous requirements, a 1-year driver's license suspension, an ignition interlock device on his vehicle, and of course, that Scram ankle monitor that would eventually be his undoing. Patrick Mahomes II addressed the 2024 arrest with quiet dignity, telling reporters at Super Bowl opening night simply, "It's a family matter, so I will just keep it to the family. That's all I really have to say." Mahomes Sr. himself spoke publicly after the sentencing, calling the whole ordeal the most embarrassing thing I've ever been through in my life, apologizing to his son for creating a distraction during what should have been a purely celebratory time, and hoping that his experience would enlighten others about the dangers of alcohol. Now, none of those words or promises were enough to keep him out of trouble, and what was supposed to be a story of redemption has turned into something far more serious, a potential decade behind bars. Barroom brawls, and a son's broken heart. The DWI arrests are the headline acts in the saga of Patrick Mahomes Sr.'s troubled post-baseball life, but they are not the only chapters worth reading. There are other incidents, other controversies, other moments of poor judgment that paint a broader picture of a man who has struggled to stay on the right side of the line for years, and each of these episodes has added another layer to a reputation that has become increasingly difficult to rehabilitate. It all traces back further than most people realize. On October 29, 2016, during a college football game between TCU and Texas Tech at Amon G. Carter Stadium in Fort Worth, Texas, Mahomes Sr. was arrested for public intoxication. At the time, his son Patrick Mahomes II was still just the quarterback at Texas Tech, not yet the household name he would become, and the incident received mostly local coverage. According to reports, Mahomes Sr. wandered into the TCU student section while visibly intoxicated, which prompted campus authorities to intervene and place him under arrest. The charge was resolved without any significant long-term consequences, and no prison time was reported. But looking back now with the full benefit of hindsight, this incident was an early warning sign of the pattern that would eventually escalate into felony territory. At the time, the Mahomes family maintained their privacy, and because Patrick II was still a relatively unknown college player, the story did not generate widespread controversy. Fast forward to February of 2025, Super Bowl 59 week in New Orleans, and Mahomes Sr. managed to land himself in the middle of yet another another public spectacle, this time of an entirely different variety. Outside a bar in the French Quarter, he got into a heated verbal and physical altercation with former Major League Baseball pitcher John Rocker, a man whose own reputation for controversy hardly needs introduction, given his infamous 1999 Sports Illustrated comments about minorities and immigrants. Video footage captured pushing, shoving, and insults flying in both directions, with Mahomes Sr. reportedly calling Rocker a menace to society before the altercation was broken up by bystanders. Now, some speculated that parts of this confrontation were staged, potentially as a promotional stunt for a celebrity boxing match under Barstool Sports' Rough and Rowdy promotion, and indeed, a fight between the two was reportedly in the works until intervention from Patrick Mahomes II's agent and wife Brittany Mahomes, who, according to Barstool's Dave Portnoy, allegedly threatened to cut ties if the fight proceeded. Mahomes Sr. later admitted that certain elements were staged, but the real tension between the two men was apparently genuine. Regardless of what was real and what was performance, the optics were terrible. A man on probation for a felony DWI getting into a shoving match outside a bar during another one of his son's Super Bowl weeks. The pattern of creating distractions during the most important moments of his son's career was becoming impossible to ignore. Then there was the June 29, 2024 citation for driving without a valid driver's license in Tyler, Texas. This happened months after his February 2024 DWI arrest, but before his sentencing, when you would think any reasonable person would be on their absolute best behavior, he was pulled over for disregarding traffic signs and cited for operating a vehicle without proper documentation. It was a minor misdemeanor level infraction, not alcohol related, but it fed directly into the narrative of a man who simply could not manage to stay out of trouble with the law, even when the stakes were at their highest and the eyes of the entire sports world were watching his every move. These incidents, taken together with the DWI history, create a mosaic of a man whose personal demons have been playing out in public for the better part of a decade, and nowhere has the collateral damage of those demons been more visible and more painful to witness than in the relationship between Patrick Mahomes Sr. and his son. The bond between Pat Sr. and Patrick II is rooted in athletics, mutual admiration, and the kind of family loyalty that does not bend easily, even under enormous pressure. Mahomes Sr., who spent 11 seasons pitching in the major leagues, recognized his son's extraordinary athletic talent from a young age and was instrumental in fostering the development that would eventually produce one of the greatest quarterbacks the NFL has ever seen. He initially pushed his boy toward baseball, naturally, given his own career in the sport, but ultimately supported Patrick's decision to pursue football with everything he had. Even after Mahomes Sr. and Patrick's mother, Randy Martin, divorced in 2006, the two parents managed to co-parent effectively, with Pat Sr. providing athletic drive and encouragement, while Randy provided structure and discipline. Patrick II has acknowledged on multiple occasions that his father played a fundamental role in building the competitive foundation that has served him so well at the highest level of professional football. That foundation, however, has been tested repeatedly by the weight of addiction. The 2024 DWI arrest, happening just days before Super Bowl 58, forced Patrick II into the uncomfortable position of having to answer media questions about his father's legal troubles during what should have been the most exciting week of his professional life. Instead of talking about game plans, defensive schemes, and championship aspirations, he found himself navigating deeply personal family questions on the biggest stage in American sports. When he finally did address it publicly in the ESPN Chiefs Kingdom docuseries covering the 2024 season, he was remarkably candid. He said that the situation hurt him and that knowing his pain was what finally got through to his father. Those are not the words of a man who has been unaffected by his father's choices. Those are the words of a son who loves his dad, but has been carrying a burden that no amount of touchdowns or Lombardi trophies can fully ease. Brittany Mahomes, Patrick's wife and the mother of his 3 children, also weighed in on the impact, noting that it finally hit him, referring to Mahomes Sr., that his children and grandchildren were watching his behavior. When your own daughter-in-law has to publicly acknowledge that your grandkids are witnessing your legal troubles play out in the news, that is a moment of reckoning that should cut deeper than any courtroom sentence. And to his credit, Mahomes Sr. appeared to take that reckoning seriously, at least for a while. After the 2024 arrest and his August guilty plea, he embarked on what seemed like a genuine effort at rehabilitation. The court mandated an extensive program that included Alcoholics Narcotics Anonymous participation, a DWI repeat offender program, life skills courses, and continuous alcohol monitoring through the Scram device. Beyond what was legally required, Mahomes Sr. took to social media to document his progress. In August of 2024, he posted on Instagram celebrating 6 months of sobriety, calling the journey hard but well worth it, thanking God, family, and friends for their support, and making a promise that his son would never have to deal with anything because of drinking because of me. He stated plainly, "I haven't had a drink since then." Those words felt powerful at the time. They felt like the words of a man who had finally turned a corner after years of stumbling. He also spoke publicly about wanting his experience to serve as a cautionary tale, hoping the sentence would enlighten others about the dangers of alcohol abuse. He appeared remorseful, reflective, and committed to change. The narrative was shifting from one of repeated failure to one of hard-won redemption, and for several months, it genuinely seemed like the story might have a positive ending. But that New Year's Day ankle monitor reading shattered the redemption arc in an instant. The 6 months of sobriety became roughly 18 months before the alleged relapse. The promises made to his son, to his grandchildren, and to the public were all called into question by a single alcohol detection on the one night of the year when celebration and temptation are at their peak. And now, sitting in Smith County Jail without bond and staring down the possibility of a decade in prison, the question is no longer whether Patrick Mahomes Sr. can rehabilitate himself. It is whether the justice system will give him another chance to try. From MLB mounds to a jail cell, before the mugshots and the courtrooms and the ankle monitors became the defining images of his public life, Patrick LaVon Mahomes Sr. was a professional baseball player who spent over a decade grinding through the major leagues as a right-handed pitcher with a rubber arm and a will to compete. He was drafted by the Minnesota Twins in the 6th round, 155th overall, in the 1988 MLB June Amateur Draft, straight out of Lindale High School in Lindale, Texas, and he made his big league debut on April 12, 1992, at the age of 21. Over the course of 11 MLB seasons from 1992 through 2003, Mahomes Sr. suited up for 6 different franchises: the Minnesota Twins, the Boston Red Sox, the New York Mets, the Texas Rangers, the Chicago Cubs, and the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was the definition of a journeyman pitcher, the kind of guy who moved from city to city, clubhouse to clubhouse, doing whatever the team needed on any given night. He started 63 games over his career, but found his most consistent role as a reliever, bouncing between the rotation and the bullpen, depending on the needs of whatever roster he happened to be on at the time. His career statistics tell the story of a durable, workmanlike pitcher: 308 games, a record of 42 wins and 39 losses, a 5.47 earned run average across 709 innings pitched, 452 strikeouts against 392 walks, and a whip of 1.59. Those are not Hall of Fame numbers by any stretch of the imagination, and retrospective commentary from baseball fans has not always been kind, with some jokingly placing him among the less statistically impressive pitchers to accumulate significant innings. But those numbers also represent something real: a man who managed to stick around in the most competitive baseball league on the planet for over a decade, when the vast majority of players who get drafted never even sniff the majors. One of his strongest stretches came with the New York Mets in 1999 and 2000, where he posted an 8-0 record across 39 relief appearances, proving he could be effective when placed in the right situation. After his final MLB season in 2003, Mahomes Sr. was not ready to put the glove away entirely. He continued pitching in independent leagues, including a stint with the Sioux Falls Canaries that eventually earned him induction into their Hall of Fame, extending his professional playing days until around 2009. No major on-field controversies, no performance-enhancing drug suspicions, no suspensions or scandals from his playing career were ever reported. His time in baseball was clean, professional, and respectable, even if it never produced star-level statistics. As of early February 2026, the man who once stood on major league mounds across America is currently detained in Smith County Jail in Tyler, Texas, without bond, awaiting his March 9th hearing that could determine whether he spends the next decade of his life in prison. Prior to his arrest, reports from 2025 and 2026 mentioned his involvement with a weekly podcast called The Big Mahomes Show, where he discussed professional sports, shared insights about his son's career, and offered broader commentary on athletics. He was a regular fixture at Kansas City Chiefs games, proudly cheering from the stands for the son he helped helped shape into a generational talent. Now, instead of watching his son play football, he is watching the walls of a jail cell and waiting for a judge to decide his future. And that son, Patrick Lavon Mahomes II, has built a career that stands in almost impossible contrast to his father's current circumstances. Drafted 10th overall by the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2017 NFL Draft out of Texas Tech, Mahomes sat behind veteran Alex Smith during his rookie season before taking over as the starter in 2018 and immediately becoming one of the most electrifying players the league has ever witnessed. In that first season as a starter, he threw for 50 touchdowns and 5,097, earning his first NFL Most Valuable Player award and announcing to the world that a new era quarterback play had officially arrived. Since then, the accomplishments have stacked up at a pace that puts him in conversation with the greatest to ever play the position. Mahomes has led the Chiefs to 3 Super Bowl championships, Super Bowl 54 in 2020, Super Bowl 57 in 2023, and Super Bowl 58 in 2024, earning Super Bowl MVP honors in all 3 victories. In Super Bowl 54, he completed 26 of 42 passes for 286 yards and 2 touchdowns. In Super Bowl 57, he was even more efficient, going 21 of 27 for 182 yards and 3 scores. And in Super Bowl 58, he delivered one of his finest championship performances with 34 completions on 46 attempts for 333 yards and 2 touchdowns. He is a 2-time NFL Most Valuable Player for the 2018 and 2022 seasons, a 3-time first-team All-Pro selection, and a 6-time Pro Bowl selection. He has led the league in passing touchdowns and passing yards in multiple seasons, and his career numbers through the 2025 season sit at over 35,000 passing yards with more than 267 touchdowns, all while maintaining around a 66% completion rate. But the 2025 season brought something Mahomes had never experienced before, a serious injury that stopped him in his track. In Week 15 of the 2025 season, during a game against the Los Angeles Chargers, Mahomes suffered a torn ACL and LCL in his left knee, ending his season and marking the first major injury of his remarkable career. He underwent successful surgery shortly after, and as of early February 2026, his rehabilitation has progressed positively. He has been spotted walking independently at public events without crutches, braces, or any visible limp, sending waves of optimism through the Chiefs fan base. He has publicly stated that his goal is to return with no restrictions for Week 1 of the 2026 season, and his recovery has been described as hitting every checkpoint along the way. Off the field, Mahomes has built a family life that reflects the stability and warmth he clearly values. He married his longtime partner Brittany Mahomes, born Brittany Matthews, a former professional soccer player and fitness entrepreneur, in March of 2022. The two met in high school in Texas and have been together ever since, building a relationship that has weathered the intense spotlight of NFL fame with remarkable grace. Together, they have 3 children. The family is regularly featured on social media, with Brittany sharing relatable moments of motherhood that have endeared her to millions of followers. The couple also channels their platform into meaningful charitable work through the 15 and the Mahomes Foundation, which focuses on improving the lives of children through health, wellness, and educational initiatives. The broader Mahomes family tree includes Patrick's mother, Randy Martin, an event planner, his younger brother, Jackson Mahomes, who has gained his own level of social media fame and faced his own separate legal controversies in the past, and half-siblings, including Zoe Mahomes and Graham Walker on his father's side, and Mia Randall on his mother's side. Patrick is biracial, the son of a black father and a white mother, and he has consistently emphasized family unity, privacy, and mutual support as the pillars of the household he was raised in and the one he is now building for his own children. The Mahomes name carries weight across 2 professional sports leagues and 2 generations of athletic excellence. But right now, that name is being written on a jail booking sheet in Tyler, Texas, alongside a case number that could result in 10 years behind bars. Patrick Mahomes Sr.'s March 9th hearing will determine whether the next chapter of his life is written from freedom or from a prison cell. And for a family that has experienced the highest highs professional sports can offer, this chapter represents the kind of low that no amount of championships can soften. Thanks for watching. That will be all for now. For more of such content, be sure to click on the card showing on the screen.